Alright, so I'm just going to pull some cards. We have the Catalyst, Radical Change, Taking Control, I know it takes about 5 minutes. If I don't get any questions, it's okay. If you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comments and I'll pull a card for you. Also, please give me a like, subscribe if you wish. As soon as I see a question, I will pull a card. There's not going to be like a ton of people here, so it will be easy for me to see your comment. Go ahead and put a question in, pull a card for you. Put a question and I will pull a card for you. Can y'all hear me? I hope, oh, you know, I don't have my headphones in, but I think you can hear me. God, bring me back to me, married in the future. I'll just pull a card based on, for Samia. Hope I said that right. Alright. Mars, motion. Let's see what this means for you. And I'll hold the card up and I will read this to you. Mars 22. Mars, a mythical god of war and speaks of traditional ruler of Aries, Scorpio, speaks of independence, enterprise, and willingness, aggression, passion, defenses, including your body's defenses, such as your immune system. Mars takes 1.9 Earth years to go around the zodiac, so your terrible twos is when you learn to say no and yes, demand things. What expressions of your first Mars? Action. Mars urges you to take action, but this could get you in trouble. Jump into motion, but stay in the driver's seat and think through the consequences of your moves. Mars is raw energy, and like the motor of a fine sports car, it can take you far if you add wisdom and guidance. Mars wants you to develop your strength and bravery, so work out and develop muscles or rescue the proverbial underdog. Boldly go where you have not gone before and passionately dive into your life. Mars loans you the competitive edge to obtain fiercely desired goals and teaches you that for yes to truly mean yes, and your no needs to be respected. Know what you want and don't want, and be aware of those desires and people around you. Learn to fight and fight fairly. Stand your ground with grace. Compete against your own personal best. If you are in a difficult situation, it could take real strength and willpower to transform, escape. You will need to dig in your heels so you are not pushed or pulled out of your sword and draw a clear line in the sand. Do what needs to be done. Just make sure it's the right thing. Domineering willfulness, misuse, anger, belligerence, warlike mentality. This is your challenge. So break the momentum if your situation heads downhill. Stop for a moment and think through the next move. The gift. The higher note of Mars energy manifests a divine guardian, your potent inner first responder who is ready to be the hero in a dangerous situation and protect you and yours. So it looks like basically it's asking you to take care of yourself. And I feel like based on the explanation, you can take what you need from that card. If you have any other questions, let me know. Pulling a card for anybody who puts in a question. And yes, you can have 2 questions. 2 questions is fine. Pulling cards for questions. If you have a question, go ahead. Oh. Like, does that mean it'll be lots of challenges, but it'll eventually work out? What it seemed like it was saying is that, like, in that card, it was saying, like, take care of yourself, take care of your health, draw clear boundaries, and make sure that you're being respected. And it seems as if, basically, if you take care of yourself and everything is within order with you, because I always find, like, when I'm attracted to somebody or want to move forward with somebody, it's their confidence. So I would definitely say, as long as you take care of who you are, whether it works out or not, you are a stronger person. But commonly people are more attracted to confidence. And let's see, what did it say? Because it was like, it was pretty spot on for you, honestly. Let's see, Mars. The higher note of Mars energy manifests as a divine guardian, your potent inner first responder who is ready to be the hero. It sounds like, you know, you're ready to take this step, but it is saying that, like, if yes, it truly is yes, and no, if it is no, needs to be respected. So it really equally pulls, because, you know, life is, you know, there aren't any certainties. There are certainties, obviously, if we refer to physics, but there aren't any certainties. It can move, you know. For instance, my example would be, I was in a relationship and I thought, okay, this is it, that's the way it is, and then it didn't turn out that way. So it's best, like, and yes, it was painful for me, but because I worked on myself and I took care of myself, the answer that I got from the other person didn't hurt as much, because I was happy with me. And even though the pain was there, I knew who I was and I knew my value. So it made it easier. So I think it's just calling to you to take motion towards the steps in which it takes to acquire a partner, a wife. And as long as you move within those actions, so just making sure you take care of your well-being, your mental health, your physical body, and you do, like, what I would probably do for myself is, if I'm going to try to marry someone, I'm going to be the best version of me emotionally, and make sure that I'm clear on communication, making sure that I'm able to talk to somebody, you know, instead of, like, acting out a certain way or just being rude, because it's not fair to the other person. Yeah, so if also for the people who just came in, if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the comments. But we can clarify, since you know, you're Samia, you are talking. See what it's asking. Daughter of Swords. And I like to use the books sometimes because each one has like their own little saying. Daughter of Swords is a young woman whose honesty and insights take her far in life. People truly value her frankness. She learns from keen observation, and it seems as if though she never stops watching. Sometimes this becomes a burden for her, as she can't help noticing this or that small detail could have been done better. There's a potential for her to hold on to those experiences and become spiteful and judgmental. So again, this is kind of going with the whole Mars energy. It's that same thing. It's saying, you know, if maybe this person that you're referring to has been watching, has been like every little thing you've been doing, they've been watching how you're saying and what you're doing. And so maybe because of like what we were talking about, the judgment, because this person, if they're picking someone apart, they start to pass judgment. So it's almost as if it's asking you to better yourself and strengthen yourself because you're being watched by this person's watching your move. I'm not sure if you've ever spoken to this person yet or let them know anything yet, but show them through your strengths and your successes. If this is the person, I don't know, they could possibly be an air sign, a younger air sign, Gemini, Aquarius, Libra, or they are a earth sign, possibly a Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus. But yeah, it looks like it's just asking you here. You've been close. That's good. That's good. So yeah, let's see. I like some cards. I'll pull some numerology for you. He's a Cappy, but 𝕑𝖑𝖑 somewhere. Wow, yeah. So it's so funny because that's what was at the bottom of the deck before I shuffled it. It was a pentacle, a daughter of pentacles, and I was like, well, maybe it's a earth sign. Let's see, some advice for Samia. 333, support. Growth, creativity, joy, community, visions, talent. Seeing the angel number 333 is a sign that it's time to focus inward, work on your skills, discover your talents, use your imagination, and unleash your inner artist. Doing so will boost your self-esteem and sense of competence. It does wonders for your sense of purpose and contributes to the community. So, oh, you're a Leo, got Pisces and Libra. Holler. So yeah, that's really cool, actually. So 333, you could be seeing these synchronicities. You could also be numerology number 9. I can look that up for you. Look up the numerology number 9 for you while we're here. Emphasizes a harmonious balance between taking thoughtful action and seeking inner wisdom. So it's just kind of like a wow. And it's funny, you won't believe this, but it says that number 9 represents the ruling planet Mars. And you got that card earlier. That's really interesting. So I really hope that you get something from this. So interesting. So it's just, again, repeating message, synchronicities. It's asking you to take care of yourself and work on yourself, and the person will see what's going on. But it's so interesting. It's just saying focus on yourself. And number 9, that's wow. It's really cool. For anybody here who's watching, you can put any questions in. Yeah, it's crazy. I love that, though. It happens actually a lot to me. Like when I'm doing readings, I'm a Scorpio. I have a Scorpio sun, Gemini moon, and Pisces rising. And I just did a reading for Scorpio. And it was funny because if you make it to the end of that video, I had pulled the void from one deck, and then I grabbed a whole new deck, shuffled that deck, and pulled the void again from a totally different deck. And I was just like, well, all right. So it's really quite amazing when stuff like that happens. Because you just don't think stuff like that could happen sometimes. Let's see. I'm not so good with astrology. Got Scorpio somewhere too. Honestly, I actually personally had not been that good at astrology, and it's actually quite a process. I actually did social media marketing for somebody who did astrology for 20 plus years, and I admired them, and I admire them so much that like I try to understand more tidbit by tidbit. And honestly, I'm only going on 2 years of studying tarot and briefly astrology. And what I found is it's better to just intuitively read the cards, because that was one of the best advices. She is a Scorpio as well, but like a lot of Aries. The best advice she gave me was like, she used to do tarot readings, on the streets, and she'd have to do a 1-card pull and give a reading. And she was just like, it's really important that you just get your readings out and you intuitively understand the cards. So sometimes even there's the Rider-Waite way of it, and I wanted to learn that. But then there's also a different version. There's 2 versions, and you can take those literal meanings, but then like you get people who will like create decks of their own and see, and so you can interpret the pictures differently in that way. Well, I feel something is going with the plants, because a lot of online readings, people resonate with me a lot. Hey, that's really cool. Maybe you just are an awesome person, and you're very open-minded. Yeah, I know. You're very open-minded, so, people, and honestly, there's always something going on astrologically. Like, for instance, even if you pair science with astrology and you think about how solar flares affect us and our technologies, and how the moon affects animals, or how people will have their babies on a full moon because, there's a higher tide, there's a higher gravitational pull. So there's like a lot of odds and ends that could go on. Like, for instance, we had the solar eclipse, and then we had Mercury retrograde, all this stuff. And I just remember like being extremely fatigued out of the blue, and I just could not like do things. For the people who have arrived, you can ask any questions. I'll pull a card for you. But yeah, it's so interesting, because I feel like we don't appreciate enough about like science and like how it can truly affect us. Because I was just reading a lot, or I read a lot of what people say about science or about NASA, and it's like really weird how we've gotten to a point where like, I don't know, I don't want to get into it. I just think it's super weird sometimes. It'd be weird out there. Did you have another question for me, or did you want to kind of continue on the path of what you had asked earlier? Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm just, I'm here to help. And, I definitely, I don't know, just want to help. I'm not like I feel like there are a lot of readers out there to help. And I like to just read the cards and pull from them and try to get the best information about it. I was going to pull from this and see what that says about it. So we'll just clarification for what we've been discussing for Samia. Clarification card. The shadow. Excuse me, sorry about that. Okay, here's the card. Although every Although every card in the archetypes deck has a shadow potential, this card asks us to delve into the qualities of the shadow itself. Uh, we often think that the shadow can be purified, illuminated, and made right through effort and achievement. However, it's typically the case that our lofty pursuit of ascension and perfection is a very source of shadow material itself. By rejecting parts of ourselves and the world, we begin to separate from the whole. Rather than getting to know the qualities and content of our shadow, we busy ourselves with avoiding its presence. This denial, when this card appears, it is time to take inventory of those things you've been denying. The mind responds with no, anything but that. You are touching on a shadow. Find support from deep inner work and move towards the shadow with patience and compassion. The shadow, the unspeakable, the unwelcome, the denied. Contemplate the following scientific, oh my God, here we go again. Contemplate the following scientific observation. The closer an object, a person, place, or community is to the light, the longer the shadow it casts. Bringing up science. In the shadow of the gods are the very gods themselves. Reflect on the statement by James Hillman in The Blue Fire. What do you despise about yourself? By answering, you move towards shadow. So again, it's asking you to reflect on yourself and your darker side. So like, I'd say like a shadow question for me. And it said, what do I despise about myself? Ooh. What do I despise about myself? I hate how angry, I know it's really, to me it means something, but this just is because like my upbringing. I hate when how mad I get inside when I lose something. It's unnecessary. Like I just don't understand like why. See, it's like the fear of being deceived again and abandoned. Yeah, like to be honest, I've known him 20 years, always off and on and off. So yeah, this is the thing. Yeah, it just sounds like you have to kind of focus on what don't you like about yourself, strengthening yourself and becoming a stronger version of yourself. And then I think that your answers will come, because once you become strong, it's like, I don't know, like, because for me, I'd be honest, like, it was extremely hard, but I actually got help from a therapist, and years and years of therapy. And one of the things that, like, due to my upbringing that I couldn't, like, face is that I might become susceptible to, what is it called? Like I forget what this is called, but it's like a trauma bonding or abandonment issues. And so because like my doctor explained that to me, I worked very hard on those aspects as to not hinder my future, meaning my stronger self. Because to attach to somebody, you know, people are going to come in and out. It's a part of life. It's a cycle. And so what I learned after a whole lot of work, because it's asking you to do inner work, is that when people try to walk out of your life, let them. And like I don't know. It's just, for me, if somebody walks out of my life, as much as I would want to like battle and beg and do all that stuff, I don't, because if that person was meant for me, then they would be with me. And because if I don't allow, like, and I'm not telling you anything to do, I'm just giving my experience. If I allow them to leave, say they come back and it works out, fantastic. If they leave and something greater comes into my life, then I've allowed that for me, you know, to come into my life. And that's my personal experience, because, you know, That's just the way I have to operate for myself. That's like my shadows. So I work within my shadow, and I'm like, all right, what's here? What's in my shadows? Let's see what's on the other side. Oh my gosh, whoa, you're gonna freak out. Okay. So on the underside of what you don't see underneath is the vow. That's wild. All right, so we'll read what you don't see. LI 54. Okay. Oh, let me mute these. This gets annoying. All right, there we go. LIV. Here we go. Oh yeah, and praying is a form of meditation. Praying is, to your higher power is always going to help. The vow, the promise, the oath, the contract. And I'll hold that card up so you can look at it. When the vow is spoken, the air shifts, karmic ties are formed, and destiny tilts on its axis. Our words and intentions have immense power. There is a reason for a great mythic story of our past, often include the recitation of oaths and the mixing of drops of blood as a mark of union. We don't have to do the blood thing. The tricky part is the reciting the vow, no matter how casually, activates the eternal and unseen forces of the world. The ancestor bear witness. The laws of nature's response. These promises cannot be unsaid or forgotten, so breaking them can leave lingering complexities and loose ends. This card calls us to acknowledge the vow we are living by, consciously or unconsciously, and either recommit to it or create a ritual that signifies its closure. You've been underestimating the power of your promises. When in light, bearing witness to shift towards destiny, and when dark, unconscious vows, unkept promises, messy karma. Go deeper. Learn the yamas, the 5 vows of the seeker. Wow, I don't know what that is. Yeah, the blood thing, right? Anytime the energy of the vow is present, we are in the archetypal realm of ceremony and ritual. That means time stands still and anything is possible. The promise, the oath, the contract. Think of the last promise you made. Was it to yourself or another? Has it been upheld or broken? And then I'll look up what is this 5 promises. Learn the yamas, the 5 vows of the seeker. Okay, yamas, social restraints and moral codes of yoga. Oh, it's yoga. The Yoga Sutra describes 5 different yamas, including ashama, nonviolence, asteya, non-stealing, satya, truthfulness, aparigriya, non-possessiveness, and brahmacharya, celibacy or fidelity. And anyway, you can look this up yourself. It's Yamas Guide, YAMAS Guide, and then it says, like, practice the Yamas Yoga Masterclass. It's like the top Google search. All right, that's really cool. So that's what you don't see. Wow. So yeah, I guess it would be like a time of self-reflection of any promises. I think I just did that yesterday. Day before yesterday, I was thinking about how important promises are to me. And if anybody here has a question, feel free to put it in the comments. I will pull a card for you. But I've found that the value I carry in the weight of a promise, and because I value a promise so much, because a lot of the promises in my life have been broken, like by family. So I learned early on that like a promise means nothing to some people. So I always like to tell people, hey, don't make that promise if you can't keep it. Like, I warn them, because it's not fair to them because they don't know how heavy a promise is to me. So I like to communicate that, like, hey, I just want to let you know promises are very important to me. So please, like, don't make it if you can't keep it. I prefer you not to. So yeah, I would definitely look up the 𝕮𝖗𝖗 and despite people breaking. Yeah, well, yeah, people break them. They do. They don't. It's just the way they are. Like humans do things because they, like, the way I'm wired is not the way another person's wired. I could break a promise to somebody else, and that could be the value of, like, I don't know, like, being late to them, like, oh, you broke a promise, whatever, because that's just the way that they are. So that's why communication is always important when you are dealing with the merging of two humans, because that person, and I always give this analogy, is like we both have a favorite color of blue, but we're both thinking of two different shades of blue. Like, we understand blue, but it's not that we truly understand what's going on until I say, oh, my favorite color is light blue. And they're like, oh, I like navy. You know what I mean? So it's really just kind of seeking out and exploring communication with this other person to gain the understanding. Because, like, for instance, my boyfriend, he is a Gemini. He's and it's like, I don't know, like, he is like totally different than me, and he's like, but his delivery may be like off or weird. He'll be right, or like he'll blow my mind, and I'll be like, whoa. Like, I'm glad that I was accepting of the way that delivery came, because I would have never tried that before. I would have never understood that, because I know I'm rigid. Like, I'm very like, this is the way. Like, and it's obviously, I know that there's like in and outs, but like, I'm way like, this is the way things are done. But yeah, I'll pull another card for you, because, we're talking, we're rocking. Nobody else is typing a question, so you got my full undivided attention. So I'll pull another card for you. All right, so you have the 𝕮𝖗𝖗 I got to Google this because I so many words I'm unfamiliar with. Let's see, 𝕮𝖗𝒚𝑢𝑘𝐻𝑖. Let's see. Pronunciation. Oh, yay! Thank you for subscribing. Whoop whoop. You get a little dance. Pronunciation. How to pronounce. Turn this up. It's not giving me a direct, like, a breakdown of the word. But I'll show you the card and we'll read it. Is that 23? Okay. Burning golden light, divine protection. She arrests the flow of negativity, particularly that of our own making. She is the divine intervention and sacred activity. She transforms our karma from which hinders our joy to that which creates true happiness and bliss for ourselves and all beings. As you seek refuge in her, you are protected from gossip, slander, and any form of negativity from others. A positive turning of the tide and fortune is predicted. The eighth of the Mahavidya wisdom goddesses is 𝕮𝖆𝖗𝖑𝖘. She is a beautiful avatar of Kali, known for her golden light. She is also called Pitmabara Devi, or goddess dressed in yellow. Her blessing is a bestowal of siddhis, or yogic powers. In particular, her power of there we go. Her power of Sambhara, Stambhara, has a deep spiritual significance. The tongue is a symbol of speech. Speech is the sound expressed with intention. Sound is a creative power. Intention gives it direction. It pulls out. The tongue of the demon is in its capacity to create trouble. It is Stambhara in the sense of aborting or stemming the flow of negativity. 𝕮𝖗𝖗 halts negativity in its tracks, preventing it from doing any harm. Turn the page. Nullifying its power to cause havoc, it is an act of protection. If you or another have said words you regret, you have heard some nasty gossip or jealousy or hatefulness stem from someone's lips, akin to curse, trust that your spiritual refuge in 𝕮𝖗𝖗 will nullify its effect. Ripping out the tongue acknowledges the power of negativity and needs to have zero tolerance for it. There is no pretending that negativity doesn't exist. It means recognizing its sources within or around us and cutting them off at root, thereby removing their capacity to influence us. Some may argue that this is a spiritual bypassing, a term for us used for spiritual approaches that avoid life's challenges rather than to face them and mature. The term may be misapplied to mean that we need to engage with toxic energies for our spiritual growth. This is little like saying you need to keep beating your head against the brick. Oop, you need to? Hold on. This is little like saying you need to keep beating your head. I guess so. You need to keep beating your head against a brick wall to learn how to deal with pain. There comes a point when you realize you no longer need to continue. Understanding the nature of behavior and the pain it causes is enough. This is not weakness, but wisdom. 𝕮𝖗𝖗 presence in the reading indicates that you are learning how to self-protect, to have enough self-worth, to realize you don't need to accept negative, undermining and toxic energies in your life. Your happiness and spiritual growth will increase as you clear them out. To do this, you may need to cut something off entirely. Sometimes that is the only effective way. It takes spiritual strength to give yourself unconditional support so you can thrive, especially, for example, if childhood conditioning was laden with... This light keeps cutting off. I'm so sorry. Yes, it's saying basically pray. Sometimes the only effective way, it's spiritual strength, is to give yourself unconditional support so you can thrive, especially, for example, if childhood conditioning was laden with a duty of sacrificing your well-being to another's emotional suffering. Arresting negativity is not only about dealing with the projections from others. It is more often challenging and intricate to work to conquer the ways we were cruel to ourselves. 𝕮𝖗𝖗 helps us accurately identify and therefore deal effectively with external and internal sources of sabotage or negativity. Harshness towards ourselves or others is very different from a healthy and harmonious recognition of our weakness, which helps us become less reactive and creates more happiness. 𝕮𝖗𝖗 is about tackling unhelpful toxic shame that leads us feeling unworthy, that something is innately wrong with us, that we do not deserve love or respect. It does not keep us humble. It keeps us spiritually incapacitated. We need a healthy sense of self-worth to be committed to growth and learning. We need to believe we are worthy of our unique destiny. When 𝕮𝖗 arrives in the reading, a blessing of some sort needs to manifest. It may be in the type of relationship you've never experienced before, or a new level of professional recognition or respect. The realization of your innate beauty and value. This gift is essential to your continued spiritual progress, which benefits you and all beings. To be able to receive it in some form of toxic negativity needs to be conquered, and so it shall be. Do not be afraid to affirm your right to thrive. So yeah, it's basically saying the same thing again, and it's saying like it's definitely time for you to assess what you deserve and know that you deserve it, and no matter what negativity is coming your way, to ignore it, because negative energies, as it says, should not ever be tolerated, especially slander, especially towards you. So it's basically saying like to allow gifts to come is to be the gift to yourself. And yeah, I think that's like really, really cool. All right, Samia, what I'll do for you, I'll post this, and then you can kind of like look at it, so that way you have like a record of it. And then I'll eventually like, take it down for you later, and unless you're okay with me leaving it up. But I'll leave it up for like maybe 3 days. I'll leave the live stream. And so you can just kind of look back on it and kind of reflect, because you got a lot of valuable energy, and you got a lot of good stuff. Like I can't even get a good reading like that for myself. All right, so other than that, I hope that everything works out for you, and Echo. Sorry. I hope that everything works out for you, and this has been such a wonderful time, and I think like, yeah, based on the information, that's the only reason why like I just keep reading this stuff, because it's up to you to determine what information here that you've been given is how you can apply it to what your question is, because truly only you will know that answer. But as this is like a a self-reflection and guidance, and I think you got a ton of great information. All right, so definitely I appreciate the subscription, I appreciate the like, and I hope that everything works out for you.